Oh, that's just worse. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get a good angle. The sun is really in a bad place right now. I'm going to start in a few minutes anyway. I'm going to see if anyone's going to join us. That's a little better. So we're going to talk today about the second law of attraction, which is the law of vibration. Yeah. Hi, Sherry. Sherry, can you hear me okay? Awesome. All right, great. I wasn't sure if the microphone was working. I'm gonna let this cat in the house and then I'm gonna start. All right. So the second law of attraction is the law of vibration. So the law states everything in the universe moves, vibrates, and travels in circular patterns. I can't read my own handwriting. So the principles of vibration in the physical world also apply to the etheric world, or the spirit world, if you will. So another dimension, different time and space. So this, the law, vibration in the physical world apply to our thoughts, feelings, desires, and wills in the etheric world. So each sound, each thing, and even each thought has its own vibrational frequency that's unique to itself. So everything vibrates. And so when you think about that, and I know, Sherry, you and I had a discussion about empaths earlier in the week. empaths who connect to the energy of rooms, empaths who connect to the energy of plants, that's not me, empaths who connect to the energy of animals. We're all connecting to a certain vibration. And when we do that, basically, we're able to read the energy of that person. It also happens with like psychometry. I think I'm saying that right. So a lot of people, if you go to a psychic, they might ask you to bring an item that belongs to a loved one so that they can connect with. Basically, they're using this cup to connect to my energy. So if you think about how your energy has its own unique vibration, if you imagine that your energy has a special unique color, everything that you touch kind of would leave like that colored film on it. So if you were to walk around my house, you would see, you know, the energy of me and my husband and my cat kind of like all over the place. So if you imagine it that way, it might make a little bit more sense. So we all leave an energy trace. If anybody's watched my recapitulation video that I did, that process of getting your energy back from stressful situations or traumatic situations works the same way, because in that video I ask you to imagine a situation that you are either ruminating over, or a situation that brings you trauma that you can't stop thinking about. And so I ask you to picture that situation exactly as it was and look around the area and see your energy, give it a color. So you would see all kinds of yellows, let's say, and that signifies your energy. And the other person that's involved, let's say we picture their energy as blue. So in that recapitulation process, what we do is we imagine the situation and we go through the situation and we kind of like suck back all of our energy from that situation. So I would be looking for all of the yellow energy to bring back into myself. Hi, Ashley. Because with each interaction we have with people, you know, positive and negative, we leave a little bit of us. We leave a little bit of our energy, what the universal law states as our vibration. You know, we leave that with people. And we get to a certain point where our energy feels so depleted because we've left our energy all over the place. And that can cause some illness. In shamanism, they call it soul. I have so many words running through my brain right now, so please forgive me. Soul reunification is one of the terms that they call it. You know, where you want to be whole because you feel like you've got these holes. And some of us have carried these holes for a long time. A lot of people since childhood with traumatic experiences. For me, the situation was a situation that I had had at an old job that actually caused me to leave that job. And the situation was just, it was traumatic for me because I loved my job. You know, anybody that knows me knows I love my work and I love what I do. And so to have to leave that really kind of, it left a little hole in my heart, you know. And so I had to go through that recapitulation process quite a few times to kind of feel and know that like I did what I had to do, what I felt was right at the time, and I made the best decision that I could have made. Yeah, Ashley, sometimes they do call it some sort of soul departure. You're right. There's so many different names for it. But whatever you want to call it is fine. Again, you know, doesn't matter. Soul fractured, things like that. You know, it leaves a hole in us and it hurts. So that's kind of my way to explain to you what a vibration is. Everything has a vibration. This wood pencil has a vibration, would have, vibration of a wood pencil. You might notice that you have a certain pen that you like to write with, or a certain pencil. There's certain notebooks that you might like to write on. So whatever it is about those things, you connect with that energy. Just like we connect with animals, and some people, not me, connect with, plants. I really wish I could do that and keep the little buggers alive, but I can't. Animals especially is one place where us humans really form a very unique bond. Animals their vibration is just naturally a lot higher than ours. So especially when we're really feeling down, that snuggle with your fat cat, or, your cuddly lab is definitely going to help to bring you up a little bit. So I'm sure many of you, if you're here, you've probably been in other groups that are similar to this, other spiritual circles, or the spiritual community. I'm sure you read things on the internet. There's so much information on the internet. And one of the things that we hear a lot, or at least I hear a lot, is, people who might say, I can't talk to that person. They lower my vibration. Or, our refusal to get involved with situations because it's going to lower their vibration. And absolutely, there are situations that very well could do that to you. One of the things about those statements, most of you probably know me a little bit by now. It just feels like those statements have so much ego involved. And one of the things that I have always found really fascinating is kind of the way that John explains it. Where, say you've got a medium, and that medium maybe doesn't connect to the specific loved one that you want to connect to. Yes, Ashley, absolutely. We need, when there are things that we hold onto that legitimately will destroy you from the inside out, and you have to be able to release that. You have to. You can't carry forward and do something productive when you've got something that you're holding on to from the past. And that is what I found for me was happening with that job. Yep, without a doubt. And so that recapitulation video, if you haven't seen it, I can add it to this post after, and you can kind of read through that and see the video attached to it. I believe that is titled "Letting It Go," and I'll add that for this later. If you're interested, you can check it out. I say a lot because I search for words, so pardon me. So we have that, refusal to get involved because we're in a good place. And you don't want to deal with someone who is going to bring you down. Or, we see this a lot actually when people post videos questioning like demons or entities. And I know you also know that most of us teachers here at Energy Flows don't necessarily believe that that's exactly what's going on. It's just an interpretation, and so people won't want to help someone with that. Maybe you are an established, light worker, if that's what you call yourself, and somebody contacts you and they want you to come and sage or clear their house. And I mean, we're all capable of doing that, and so you decide that you want to go and do that for that person, and you kind of, let's say you walk into the house and the energy just feels horrific. Like as soon as you walk in, you feel like there's something negative there. Okay, so now if you, as the person who's coming to clear this house or to sage the house or to bless the house blessing, and you walk in and you say, I can't be here right now. There is something bad here. We see this a ton on paranormal TV. And people will walk into this space and they will just immediately want to back out, and they don't even stay, to clear the house. Even if you walk into that situation, probably not the best thing to voice that to the client. You want to be able to put your big girl face on or your big boy pants on, and you want to be able to help that client because they're asking you to help them. They're begging you to help them sometimes because they don't know what's going on and they feel like their life is falling apart, because that's what happens. So you don't want to be that person that says, I can't deal with this. The energy's bad. I'm not going to get involved because I don't want to jeopardize, my own energy. And that is very valid. But what I want to teach you and what I want to show you is how you can keep your energy safe and protected, and you can continue to do the work that somebody has hired you to do if you're getting paid, or that somebody has trusted you to do, which generally is a family member or a friend. So one of the things that we also see a lot, and I believe everybody is an empath to a certain degree, energy vampires. We all know them. We love them, and we want to do what we can for them. But when we speak to them or we spend an amount of time with them, they feel fabulous because they've unloaded all their garbage onto you. And I'm sure that you've, maintained, your ability to help and to offer advice the best way that you can, or you've relayed to them that someone who can help them. But you hang up the phone or, you leave the house and you're just exhausted. A lot of times you don't feel well. You might be nauseous. You might have a headache, aches and pains. You may speak to somebody and then all of a sudden realize you're having symptoms that they have. They're complaining about their knee, and all of a sudden your knee hurts. This happens a lot with empaths, and what we call energy vampires. They're literally somebody whose vibration is really just low. They have a lot of things going on a lot of times. They have a lot of trauma going on. Maybe they're just not dealing with the trauma. They carry a lot of things with them. I often find that people who might be labeled as an energy vampire are also incredibly empathic. So a lot of the things that they're dealing with, they're picking up. My son has moved, and so now I'm going to move again. So a lot of the things that they're dealing with are because they've picked them up from other people and they haven't learned to release them. So we are going to talk about releasing things like that. But why do they drain your energy? Because they're not in a good place, and you feel good, because you're a happy-go-lucky person. Maybe they view you as having life together. And so this also kind of brings into, my last post, which is kind of about how people are only reflecting what's going on for them internally. They're not reflecting necessarily what you're doing. So they're just kind of dumping on you, and it stinks for that person who's getting dumped on. So that's why they drain your energy. They're in a bad place. One of the things that's difficult to understand is that John's big thing here is intent. You set the intent, and that's what happens. Doesn't always work the first time, but repetitively that intent kind of sets in, and it just kind of becomes your norm. So it's often, like setting the intent to connect to a spirit per se. You're setting that intent. You're doing your protective boundaries. This is your ritual. This is what you do. You clear your space. You're setting that intent that you're going to connect to that spirit. And one of the things that we often forget, especially empaths, and again, as I said, everyone is an empath to a certain degree. We often forget that everything that we experience is only because of us. Nothing that happens to us happens because of anybody else. We may be a victim of someone else's circumstances, but until we come to that realization that it's not because of me that happened, it's not because of me that person said that, it's not because of me that that person got fired. I don't know. When we come to that realization that everything that happens to us is because of us, it helps us to really build up that self-esteem and fill a little bit of that void that we're trying to use other people to fill, if that makes sense, okay? So when you allow them to, they will absolutely drain your energy. They feel bad. They want you to feel bad. They, like I said, feel fabulous after talking to you, and you're drained. One of the things that we tend to do as empaths is absorb the things that are going on. Oh, it kind of looks like toes behind me. I'm sorry, I'm easily distracted. I'm kind of like a squirrel sometimes. So we're absorbing it, and we're doing it because we feel like that's what's going to help them. I'm going to take your pain away. I'm going to carry it for you for 5 minutes while we talk. Reiki practitioners often do this as well, because we forget that we are not doing the healing. We are only the conduit for the healing. And when I first started doing Reiki, this would happen to me a few years ago. And I'm the type of person that I enjoy working with the energy and playing with the energy and moving it, so that the person can feel it and feel that it's actually working. And so we get in this mindset that we're doing the job. So it's almost like an empath. I'm going to help you. I'm going to fix this for you. I'm going to take this from you. And what we do is we forget to release it. So I encourage people, if you're not familiar with working with energy and you're just kind of starting out, you've taken John and MJ's Holy Fire Reiki class, which I know you loved and enjoyed. Until you know that energy isn't going to affect you, you want to disconnect. You need to disconnect, because otherwise you may have that intent that you're kind of stuck with that person and you've absorbed their energy, and you don't need to do that. Especially as a Reiki practitioner, you're just the conduit. But I will say, if you've done John and MJ's class, Holy Fire Reiki is a completely different genre than Usui Reiki or Karuna Reiki. There's a billion different tons of Reiki, and the Holy Fire energy sort of does all that for you. So let's see where I'm at in my notes. Pardon me. When we're reading for people, the way that we kind of work here at Energy Flows, and you've seen how the circle page is set up. We don't require anybody to read. What, Sherry? How to release? I'm just going to wait for Sherry just so I can explain it for her if she missed it. How do you release? So one thing that you can do is you can, because the Reiki energy generally comes from your palms. So you can release just by setting that intent, like I'm going to release this cord of energy, and you can just dry wash your hands. If it's more of you've had a conversation with somebody and you feel like you've absorbed their stuff, you can do what's called dry brushing, and you can just kind of like almost like you're taking a dry shower and you want to do your legs and you want to brush off your back and your wherever you feel like there's ick. And you'll feel it. And when you absorb, when you absorb someone's gross energy, you can feel it. So, your face, whatever it is that you have to do, and then just kind of like flick it out. But when you flick it out, you want to send it somewhere. You don't want to just flick it out for the next poor unsuspecting empath to come by and pick it up. You want to flick it out and send it somewhere, whether it's out into the universe to be, cleansed and then sent back to that person is usually a good idea. Because, yeah, dry shower, well, wash your hair. I always try to send the energy back to the person after it's been cleared, it's been transformed, turned a brilliant color light. Whatever it is that works for you works. Absolutely send it back to them. Cleaned, purified, however you want to phrase it, makes no difference to me. But definitely send it back. Okay, you don't want to just take their energy. I mean, they're giving you their gross energy, but that's going to leave a little bit of a hole in them, like we talked about before. So you want to get it off you. You want to put it in a nice little ball and wrap it with a bow, and then you want to send it back to them. And again, this is all just with your intent. This is what you're intending to do. I recommend this for anybody that is clearing a house. When you come across yucky stuff and you give it Reiki. I use Reiki in my house clearings, or you sage it. And when you're saging, it's always a good idea to open the window a little bit. And so when you're releasing it, you don't want to just kind of send it out into the world. You want to clear it, you want to purify it, and you want to send it back to where it came from. Especially in a home. Because in a home, anything that's released is very likely something that the people that lived there released. Okay? It is hard to do sometimes. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome. You can start this again if you just come in, Stephanie, after I end the video, and you can restart it, usually within a few minutes. So when we're reading for people, it's almost like you have to find the right frequency to connect with that soul or that person. So sometimes we will have a post for a reading on the page that will go unread for months at a time. And then all of a sudden the right medium or the right person connects with them to help them. That's because that energy vibration just kind of isn't there yet. Even sometimes, like I had a friend, ask me to do something for her, and I think just because it was a holiday last week and it's been crazy at work, I haven't been able to connect for her for what she's specifically looking for, so I did let her know, like sometimes it just doesn't happen that way, sometimes in order to be, I've looked at the picture a few times and I'm just not getting anything for her right now. And so sometimes it's the person who the picture is of, maybe they're not ready for the message. And sometimes it's just, I've had a busy week and it's been crazy and I'm just not feeling connecting for anybody right now. So sometimes that happens. You have to be able to match the frequency. Another thing that will happen a lot is that They're waiting for a specific person, and our groups are just so unique that every single person that I've ever read for, I think, has always had something that I needed to learn from. And that's why that page is set up the way that it is. So every time I connect with somebody, something comes up either that's already come up for me in that week or is about to come up for me in that week so that I can use it as a reference. And so that's why that page is there. So not every medium is going to connect with every person on that page. It's not like any other page where you're going to post and, the same 5 people are going to connect and read for you and you're going to get the same sort of message. So it's a lot different than that. So that's why John uses that like frequency. You got to match the frequency. So, and actually, I think John did that today. I was talking to John and he was trying to show me something and he said, "Oh, you know what? Let me just kind of like bring you up a little bit." And he did. And I understood what was going on and I was able to validate some things. So it happens. It happens to everybody. We're all students. We're all teachers. So that's just kind of how it works. Okay. So we're not always going to be on our A game, because life, I'm also just going to tell you, I just saw a spider crawl around over there in my sun porch. So if he comes any closer, I might kind of run the other way, but I think he's going under the wall. So let's see. So readings can be draining. That's one of the things that we hear a lot is people will read and then they will be very, very drained. And that's simply just because you're not replenishing what you're giving out. And that also has to do with your vibration. Not that your vibration is good or bad, but just that you kind of have to get used to that energy level going up and down. Which can be really difficult, when you're starting out. Spiders are oh! I work with the spider because I have a fear of them. Actually, honestly, 2 years ago, if I saw that spider all the way across the room, I'd have been on this couch screaming for my husband. So I'm making progress. I'm getting there. But yeah, so readings can be draining, and oftentimes readers will say that they feel sick or they have headaches after they read. And again, this happens for a few reasons. You're switching your vibration to interact with the spirit, either lower or either higher. It sometimes can be a big difference, especially if you are connected to. One time this happened to me with a soul who had taken his own life. And while I had no issue connecting, I did kind of have an issue coming back from that. And the soul, actually, John is apparently the topic of this video today because during that situation, the soul would not speak to John. So John was kind of acting as the go-between to kind of even out that frequency. And he was talking to me. He was fine. Everything was good, and I was able to relay the message, and I needed to hear that message at the time. But I did have it took me a few days to come back from that. And so that will happen. It's always a good idea if you're practicing Reiki or if you receive Reiki or if you're reading that you drink a lot of water. I know Tracy does not recommend that you ever like connect to spirit and have alcoholic beverages. And that's something that's important to keep in mind because alcohol, can kind of like prohibit your senses from working properly. So you would want to get the cleanest, most organic connection that you could. So you would want to kind of stay away from alcohol if you're reading. Pulling cards generally probably isn't going to be an issue. But if you're connecting to the spirit world, you know, and you're not using your own intuition and your own knowledge, I generally tend to stay away from alcohol if I'm going to be reading or if I have something planned, um, especially if I'm going to be reading Akashic Records for someone. So changing your frequency, headaches, tired. So basically what's happening is you're allowing the energy to change you. And sometimes that can actually be a good thing, especially if, you know, you're connecting to the angelic realms. You know, if you're allowing that energy to change you, that's going to hold you stable for a bit. You're going to feel fabulous for a while, maybe after you connect to the energy of the angels. I know for me, when I give Reiki or I do an Akashic record reading, I know I'm not sleeping. It just, those sort of things just really amp my energy up. Now, if I give myself Reiki, I'm out cold. I give my husband Reiki, he's bouncing off the walls with all this crazy energy. So it affects everyone differently. So water, drinking a lot of water, a decent amount of water before and after, can help to even your vibration level out. So one of the other things, and this is really the big thing, one of the biggest things about keeping your energy where you're comfortable, and being able to shift your frequency down and bring it back up when you need to, or to just keep it at a nice even keel, 100% is self-acceptance, okay? When you know who you are and you know that what someone else says does not necessarily mean that it's about you, that they're just kind of reflecting or they're just kind of dumping, when you know that that's not you, you're able to keep your energy vibration at a lot better level. Pass out when you give yourself Reiki. Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to fall asleep, Stephanie. It's the best thing in the world to fall asleep, to give yourself Reiki and wake up in the morning feeling fabulous. So you really want to familiarize yourself. I think, you know, this journey is really a selfish journey. You know, that has been said, I think, in the last few weeks, that this journey is really a selfish journey, because we don't necessarily get into this journey in order to help other people. I mean, that might kind of start out, you know, it might start out as, I'm going to do this because I want to help people, and I've been able to connect to spirit since I was a kid. You know, I've been able to empathize with people since I was a kid, so I'm going to get into this because I want to help other people. And that's generally how it starts. But the most important thing is that when you start on this journey and you start on this path, you learn a lot of, do I know what a rewire is? Yes, I do know what a rewire is. I've been rewired a few times. Absolutely. Everything just kind of like goes back into where it's supposed to be. Yep, balanced. Sherry got a rewire. Love it. We'll talk about that later. I want to know all about that. So you got to know who you are. And I've done an incredible amount of shadow work to get to this point where, you know, nobody else's opinion really bothers me. You might kind of get that, like, you know, somebody says something and like initially it hits you in that solar plexus and like you're like, oh, that didn't feel good. But after a certain point, when maybe you know why that didn't feel good, because, you know, you were bullied as a kid, or, you know, your parents were abusive, you know, when you know why that bothers you, and you've worked through it and you've released it and you've done your recapitulation, and, you know, you feel whole for the most part. I mean, I don't know that anybody's going to feel whole 100% of the time. You really just kind of able to know it's not about you. You know, whatever they're saying, whatever they're doing is not about you. It's about them. That's their issues. And, you know, kind of like we talked about last time, you know, you can offer what's worked for you. but try not to tell someone what they need to do. You know what I mean? So that helps a lot. And here's the thing. None of us are perfect. None of us are 100% love and light. We all have our stuff. And if anybody tells you that they are lying to you. We've all got our stuff that bothers us. We've all got our stuff that brings us down. We've all got our stuff that when it happens, it makes us cry, whether it's for good or for bad. Because we're human and we have emotions, and that's what we're supposed to have. You know, we're not going to be perfect and fabulous 1,000% of the time. There's always going to be stuff that comes up, and that's okay. That's why we're here. Okay. So one of the things about like that, like self-acceptance is, oh, good night, Ashley. Thanks for joining us. You know, none of us are perfect. Like I said, I can be very stubborn. I can be loud at the same time. You know, some people, you know, can be selfish. Some people can be whatever it is. Think of whatever it is you think you're worst. The thing that you hate the most in somebody else is generally something that, you know, we know we're guilty of, or something that we know we struggle with, you know. And honestly, when you just accept the fact that I can be stubborn, I am a stubborn Portuguese, you know, all of a sudden you find that you're not quite as stubborn anymore, because you've accepted that and you've integrated that. One of the things that I struggle with is joy and happiness and having fun. And I just have a hard time with that, just through past lives and through, you know, things that have gone on in my life. I struggle with that. I just have a hard time with that. For me, serious is serious, take things seriously, do a good job, you know, get the job done, and make sure that, you know, all of the T's have been crossed and the I's have been dotted. That's just me. That's who I am in the physical world. My aura is mostly red, so I'm a very grounded individual, so I work a lot in the lower chakras, and that's where I have my most problems, is in the lower chakras, because that's kind of where I live my life, is trying to find balance in that. And once you can really like incorporate that, for me, meeting my shadow self and working through all of that has really helped me bring that up. So now if somebody says, "You're so stubborn, Tracy," I'm like, "Yep, I am," you know, or, you know, go out and have a good time, and I can go out and have a good time, and I can be okay, and I cannot be, you know, the mother hen, like making sure so-and-so is okay and so-and-so isn't drunk in the bathroom getting knocked out. I mean, those are the things that go through my head. You know, I'm like the little mother hen when I go out. You know, is everybody okay? Is everybody here? That's just me. So when I go out, I can do those things because that's how I am in the world, and I can also have fun, and I can also relax, and I can be very funny, and I can joke around. And I mean, Sherry, you know me, the first thing that comes to my mind is generally what's going to be typed out on the keyboard. It's not always the nicest thing. I mean, it's not mean, but it's just kind of a little, you know, my tiara is crooked. I'll put it that way. So that's really important. And when you can accept yourself, good, bad, and ugly, keeping your energy vibration is a lot easier. So one of the things that I want to talk about, the last section here, is how do you protect your energy? Because when we're faced with energy vampires, or we're faced with, you know, feeling like poo because we read for someone last night and the reading went on forever, and we really gave it everything we had, and it was beautiful and it was amazing, but we feel yucky the next day. I am live. Yes, Ashley. You want to practice protection, and that's one of the first things that you really should learn if you start to take classes. You want to learn how to protect your energy. I'm fairly certain in the foundations class that John and MJ talk about knowing your energy from someone else's energy and how to protect your energy. I have I have a bunch of articles that I've written about empath protection because that was the one thing that that actually brought me here that I struggled with so badly. So I've sort of become like a skilled empath. So a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, I used to absolutely deal with, and I don't deal with it so much before because I've learned to manage my own energy, know my energy, and know how to protect it. So when we talk about that, I mean, a lot of people will do energy bubbles for protection. There's a white light protection meditation that you can do, which I believe Tracy typed up, so I'll add that to this as well. I personally like to do a brick wall. Sometimes a bubble is just like not enough, and I'm not in the right frame of mind that I feel like a see-through colored bubble is going to protect me. So I will build a brick wall around myself. And I mean, brick by brick. I mean, to me, brick is one of the things that, you know, just nothing gets through unless you want it to. So I will build a brick by brick, and I will lay the mortar, brick by brick, lay the mortar until I feel safe and I feel protected. When you're doing protection bubbles or you're building a wall, or I can't remember if the white light meditation goes through it, you want to not only state what you're not going to feel, but you're also going to state that what you're going to feel. I know that was a mouthful, sorry. So when I do my affirmations and I do my bubble in the morning, I make sure that I state, like, I'm not going to absorb the emotions of others. I'm not going to carry their emotions with me. When I'm done talking with that person or dealing with that person or helping that person, I'm going to automatically release it. So I set that intent every morning, exactly what's going to happen. Okay? One of the most important things that I do is I state that I will feel my own emotions, because I did shut my emotions completely off for quite a few years before I came here and met all of these wonderful, amazing, beautiful people. I didn't feel my emotions. My intent was just to shut off the emotions that I was absorbing from everyone else and that I was feeling from everyone else. But I shut off my emotions. There wasn't very much that made me overly ecstatic. There wasn't very much that saddened me. It was just kind of like a numb feeling, and that's kind of how I lived my life for, a few years, and it was horrible. And I didn't realize how horrible it was until I started to let those back in. That numb feeling feels good after you've been bombarded with other people's stuff for so long, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't feel anything. And then you start to realize, I really don't feel anything, what's going on. But when I started letting things back in for myself, I kind of felt like Jack Skellington in the Nightmare Before Christmas. It's like, what is this? What is that? What is this emotion? What is that emotion? Because it was a whole new world for me, because I had completely cut those out for a long time for myself. I was able to continue to still have the empathy for other people, but for me, like, I didn't matter. So it was pretty horrible. I don't recommend that. So always make sure you do not shut off your own emotions. Learn from my mistakes. One of my famous sayings. Finding what you are releasing. So yeah, I actually already talked about this, about when you're releasing and you're doing your shower, whatever, releasing it, but making sure that you pack it up in a pretty little bow and send it back to where it came from, so that that person's soul energy is not depleted. One thing, when I don't do mediumship very often. I practice mediumship kind of in the circle, but that's really the only place that I do practice it, unless a soul just kind of like pops out at me when I'm talking with someone. Sometimes that will happen. I'm not a clairvoyant, so I don't see spirit. So I don't necessarily connect with mediumship. But when I do see a photo that I'm drawn to and I read for that person, when I'm finished reading, I state in my head or state to the soul that I am finished with this reading. You know, the soul will actually usually, because it's kind of like in my guide's contract, you know, when they're in the corral, they kind of give them the, you know, this is what happens. And so when the reading is done, the reading is done. They are not allowed to hang around. So I know some mediums will like be relaying messages over and over, and it's draining and it's exhausting. So I send them back to their family. So, you know, I thank them for spending time with me. You know, I thank them for their message. Generally, even the souls that, you know, were in extreme pain when they were here are so wonderful. Those are such my favorites when I do connect to them, because I love Jack Skellington, yes. um, there's the energy is so different. You know, where I'm an empath and I feel everything, I will feel the energy of the soul when they were here, but then I will also be given what they're feeling now. And so I love that, and I want the family to feel that, and I also don't want the soul hanging around me. So I just tell them, like, I'm gonna send you to your family now. And I, you know, whether it's with Reiki, you can do it with Reiki. You can just tell them, you know, go and be with so and so. They need you right now. And a lot of times I'll get info from that soul what they will allow that person to feel. Sometimes it's, you know, a handhold, or, you know, they'll like stroke my face, so I'll know, like, you might feel like a soft sensation on your face or feel fingers brushing through your hair. But I always send that soul away. Because if you don't, that soul may just be like, well, they're letting me stay. I'm going to stay and hang out, and, you know, I'm going to, you know, see what they're going to watch on TV. And what ends up happening is you're going to continue to get messages, and you're not going to be able to sleep, because there's no concept of time with energy. You know, their soul is energy, and there's no concept of time with energy. They're going to connect for however long you allow them to. So you need to set that boundary and just be like, you know, I'm done. You gotta go. You gotta go home. I'm finished. So send them to them. You also, a lot of times where you're doing a reading, you're gonna have a sitter who is broken. They've lost a family member, or something very traumatic has happened to them, and you're connected to them because you're reading for them, whether you're reading mediumship or you're doing a general reading where you're just trying to offer them advice, you know, from their higher self or from the spirit world, whatever you choose to call it. You know that they're hurting. You know that they're in pain. You know that they're crying now because something you said really, really struck them and really hit a chord with them. So send them energy. And that's a good way to disengage yourself. Whether or not you are Reiki certified, you can certainly send someone love. You can send someone healing. You can send them comfort. Basically what I would do, and what you would do if you were sending Reiki, is you would imagine a miniature person in your hands, put them in, and just all of those feelings that you're feeling, you're imagining sending to that person. You can use a photo. You can use a teddy bear to kind of send that to them. So what you're doing is, excuse me, you're helping to bring up their vibration, and you're also keeping yours the same. Okay? So those are some things that you can do. So basically, kind of as a roundup, the law of vibration is how we react to the world, or how we don't allow ourselves to react to the world, because it's all our reaction to what's happening around us. You know, we got someone in pain who's with us and we feel badly and we want to help them. So really disengaging is really, 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 really important. Knowing that, you know, you're here, we all felt like we were needed to be here for a reason, you know, to help people, as others have helped us. So I have a blue jay outside my house and they always get my attention. Sorry. You know, so just know yourself and know your energy and know what's right for you and know what's not right for you and know when you need to disengage, know when you need to get rid of stuff that you've absorbed during the day. Just know yourself, know your energy, know your vibration. So what happens is when you know your energy and you know your vibration, you can help anybody. No matter how dire their circumstances are, you can help them because you know you and you know what's right for you and what's not right for you. So even if you were to get something like stuck on you, it happened to me, I don't know, maybe last year, late last year. I wasn't feeling good. Something just didn't feel right. This has actually happened to me twice. I was very just not feeling well. It felt like pain in my back. So I did a body scan, and in the body scan, Blue Jays remind you to enjoy life. I thought they were just telling me to be quiet. That would make so much sense, Sherry. That's why I pay attention to them. I love it. So see how I'm like a squirrel. So when you know your energy and you know what's right and you know what's wrong for you, that's where I was. You can help anybody because you feel safe and you feel secure in your own skin, in your own world. You know, everything is right. You know exactly what's good for you. And so when you get something that kind of like sticks to you or attaches to you, when you do a body scan, you know that that's there, and so you know that that needs to go. And you know pretty quickly when you've picked something up or when you've absorbed something that needs to go. You know, like usually within a few hours. And once you're able to remove it, which is just like anything else, disengage, wrap it in a pretty package, and send it back to where it came from, you're okay. So once you know that you can do that, you can help anybody. You know, you can walk into a haunted house and, you know, clear the house of whatever's there, and help every single, you know, soul there recognize that a lot of this is just their own releasing of emotions, and you're fine. Like if I were to walk into a house to clear it and, you know, I heard somebody say, get out, I'd be like, bring it. Like I'm not going anywhere because I'm not afraid of you. Because anytime something like that's going on, those people need your help because they don't understand what's happening. You know, lights turn on, things break, things go missing. And we all know the stories. You know, just turn on paranormal TV. I would have no problem helping any person on any paranormal TV show. Let's just put it that way. I'm stubborn, but I'm also fearless, which is not two things that go together well. So that's the point of this. You know yourself, know your vibration, accept yourself, love yourself, recognize that what people are throwing at you is not because of you, it's because of what they're dealing with. Show empathy for that. That way you can help them, and make sure you practice your bubbles. Homework, you know, I mean, practice your bubbles over the next few weeks. The next week until next Wednesday, excuse me. You know, practice protecting yourself, practice affirmations, what you're going to allow into your bubble or your brick wall. Practice releasing. You know, every time you meditate, you release. So 100% after every time you meditate, you should really kind of think about picking up all of that stuff that's scattered all over the place and wrapping it in a pretty bow and sending it, you know, where it needs to be. because that's one of the things that's big too. You know, like in my house, it's the front door. When we walk in, my living room will sometimes feel yucky because you walk in and you just kind of release everything. And then my basement gets yucky because that's kind of where my husband spends his time and releases whatever's happened throughout his day when he relaxes down there. And so he releases and it just kind of sits there. And then my car, because that's kind of where I do my releasing, is in the car on the way home. And so I often will like throw a little oils in there to kind of like clear out my car, and then I'll remember to pack it up in a pretty bow. So if you've got a spot in your home that doesn't ever feel so good, and maybe you feel like you always need to sage it or clear it or give it Reiki, it might be a good idea to practice that, wrapping it in a bow and sending it where it needs to be. I think for me, this is like this has been a long video because this is one of my favorite laws, because this law really helps with so much. So once you know your energy, and you know your vibration, and you know where you're comfortable, you know, like right now, I know I'm comfortable at this vibration. Like this is comfortable for me. I'm productive. You know, my life is satisfying. I love my job because I'm a weird kid. I like to work. You know, I know that I'm good here. So if something in my life starts to go astray, you know, then I know something just needs to be looked at. And I know maybe my energy is a little depleted, or I need to give myself some Reiki, or I need to go and see someone for Reiki. So I think that's it. So if you have any questions that come up, again, like I said last time, feel free to message me. I'm always, you know, available at some point in the day to kind of get back to anybody through private messenger, text message if you have my number. I have no issues with that at all. That's kind of why I'm here. You're not bothering me if you send me a quick message. I might not get back to you right away, but I will get back to you. Post your questions in the group if you're comfortable. That's perfectly fine. Reach out to any of our other admin, you know, if you know them, or if you work with John and MJ, I'm 100% sure that they will, you know, help you out or answer any questions that you have. To the doorknob? What's that, Sherry? Good point. To the doorknob. Oh, did I point to the doorknob? It's the entrance to your home to bring in good energy in. Yes, yeah, absolutely. To the doorknob. You could do that. I like that. I like that. So yeah, don't be afraid to reach out if something doesn't make sense, or if you're struggling with something. I reach out all the time. I struggle with stuff. I reach out lots. I used to have a really hard time with that, but I've kind of gotten over that and just been like, yeah, I need help. You know, help me out here. So in the comments, I will post a link. My God, my face is like, I will post a link to the Energy Flows website with the Let It Go, with the recapitulation video, and then some empath protection stuff that you can kind of read through. And I will also post it on the main page, so that way it will all be there. And if you want to revisit this post, I will also pin it in the announcement section with the other videos. So anything that I've done for the law of attraction is pinned up in the announcement section. And I'm going to leave them there until we're done with the 12 weeks. And then I will sort of compress them all into a file to upload to the website, so it'll be available. I also have homework number 1 from Tracy pinned in the announcement section right now. And then I'll just kind of like keep changing those. Homework 1, 2. I think there's 7 or 8 at this point. Okay, so okay, well, I'm a little blind right now because the sun is shining directly, and apparently there's no way around it. So have a great night. You're welcome anytime, everybody. Again, don't be afraid to reach out to any of us, and we will help if we can. And if we can't, there is somebody here who can help you. I guarantee it. Okay?